Today we will talk about Elon Musk as a CEO. It might be surprising to you, but Elon stated publicly that he hires only American citizens. In fact, he got himself into a big scandal because of this fact. This is a very confusing story, so to make everything clear, let's start from the beginning. Because Musk always set a very high bar for his employees, they are one of the hardest working professionals for sure, and as a result, companies of Elon are doing so well. In 2014, Elon Musk sat down for the interview with Auto Bild, an automobile magazine based in Hamburg, Germany, to discuss his hiring practices and what he looks for in potential employees. The ideal candidate, according to Musk, is someone who has proven themselves to be problem solvers throughout their life. When asked about the particular college or university he prefers his employees to have graduated from, his answer was striking. There's no need to even have a college degree at all. While this might seem promising, there's one problem. Musk does not care about your college transcript, but he does care about your citizenship when it comes to hiring. In fact, he's got no choice. As his name and his company have become more and more widely known, his hiring practices have come under scrutiny, and he's been publicly scorned for it. SpaceX, Musk's company that has been responsible for aerospace manufacturing and space shuttle transportation, has been around since 2002. And since that time, the public has had the opportunity to look at trends within the corporation. What they found was bothersome to many, that Elon Musk has a practice of only hiring American citizens. More than a few people criticize this practice, noting that he himself is an immigrant from South Africa and pointing out the irony of the situation. To be clear, Musk currently holds citizenship in 3 countries: South Africa, Canada, and the United States. In September of 2016, Musk was invited to speak at the International Aeronautical Congress, a yearly conference hosted by the International Aeronautical Federation. Here, the best and the brightest in the realm of space exploration and innovation come together to share their ideas, updates, and to network with one another. The event draws thousands of people each year, and so it's no surprise that so many clamored at the chance to hear Musk speak at the IAC in Guadalajara, Mexico. Musk took questions from the audiences as part of his presentation. At one point, the mood in the room became tense when one participant grilled him on the reason why the billionaire doesn't pick from an international pool of applicants. She said, "You're going interplanetary, but you're not going international. When are you going to hire people from other countries than the US?" Musk took a moment to pause, allowing the crowd in the presentation room to cheer and echo their support for the young woman's question. The SpaceX founder went on to explain that the precise reason for this decision isn't his at all. He cited the rules and regulations he has to follow that are set forth by the US government. He calmly explained to the crowd, if you're working on rocket technology, that's considered an advanced weapon technology, so even a normal worker visa isn't sufficient unless you get special permission from the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of State. Simply put, working within the fields of rocket technology is considered by the government to be a position of national security, and for that, Musk simply cannot hire anyone who cannot prove US citizenship. Musk actually criticized this policy by the US, noting that there are so many talented individuals around the world who would be an asset to the SpaceX company. He also spoke about the diverse pool of employees at his other company, Tesla, stating that between 25% and 30% of their team is from outside of the US, yet due to the fact that they are an electric car manufacturing company, there is a different set of rules. When it comes down to it, he explained his hands are tied. So what are the details behind the US government's restrictive policy that keeps international workers from joining SpaceX? It's something known as ITAR, which stands for International Traffic in Arms Regulations, and it's a regulation that serves to monitor the export of technologies within the defense and military space. The government considers this type of technology to be a matter of US national security, and thus any foreign involvement or intervention is strictly prohibited. The hiring of non-US citizens would therefore not be in compliance with ITAR. Even international students are prohibited from pursuing an internship with SpaceX. It's that serious. These regulations have been in place since 1976, toward the end of the Cold War between the United States and what was then the Soviet Union. ITAR covers the categories of physical items and technical data, and there are more than a few article categories under which SpaceX would fall. Within the code of the regulations, rockets, spacecraft system, and associated equipment are all mentioned. Information, data, and state secrets related to those categories are also heavily protected as parts of the regulations. When it comes to SpaceX, his rockets, such as the Falcon 9 and his other space launch vehicles, would be considered weapons technology. Obviously, this isn't something Musk can work around easily, nor would he want to. It gets even more complicated when you consider that many individuals have dual citizenships. Due to the complex history between the United States and countries such as Russia, Iran, and China, individuals with dual citizenships pertaining to these nations have an even tougher time finding employment with corporations that are regulated by ITAR. Any individual that has dual citizenship but does not come from one of those countries would still have to undergo a grueling process, and even then their employment will not be guaranteed. To any non-US citizen hoping to get a job with SpaceX or any other company in a similar field, Musk advises them to do anything you can to get a green card. He noted that with a few cases, his company had been successful in getting the Department of Defense to allow green card holders to be hired, but there would be no chance of this happening had they not been card holders. Talk of SpaceX's hiring restrictions fell relatively quiet in the years following the 2016 International Aeronautical Congress, but in a weird and seemingly contradictory turn of events, SpaceX was notified by the Department of Justice that they would be subject to an investigation. According to court documents, in March of 2020, a non-US citizen by the name of Fabian Hutter put in an application to SpaceX's satellite internet project Starlink for the Technology Strategy Associate position. During the first interview, Hutter was asked about his citizenship status, as his resume noted Austrian and Canadian citizenship. After his second round of interviews, Hutter wound up not getting the job. He quickly lodged a complaint with the Justice Department's Immigrant and Employee Right Division, or IER for short. In June of 2020, IER informed SpaceX via email that they intended to open an investigation over Hutter not being selected, stating that because he was asked about his citizenship status, they had violated his rights. Citing the Immigration and Nationality Act, the IER enforces the anti-discrimination provision, which prevents citizenship status and national origin discrimination in hiring, firing, or recruitment. The IER asked Musk to provide information relative to his company's hiring practices, including their method for verifying the eligibility of their employees. According to Musk, SpaceX complied with their request, sending over a spreadsheet of information gleaned from I-9 forms of employees beginning June 2019. The part SpaceX did not comply with, however, was the IER's request for the supporting I-9 form documentation, which specifically proves employee citizenship status, such as a driver's license, a U.S. passport, a social security card. The IER came back with a subpoena that October, but SpaceX refused to comply. In March of 2021, SpaceX submitted their official response to the subpoena request, stating that yes, Hutter was asked about his Austrian and Canadian citizenship in the first interview, but that wasn't the reason he wasn't hired. The SpaceX employee who interviewed Hutter the second time stated that he was unimpressed with Mr. Hutter's responses to some of his questions and that he gave unsatisfactory responses when pressed about his job history. The official document went on to say that Hutter was one of 7 individuals who made it to the second round of interviews, but ultimately, none of them were hired. SpaceX eventually got rid of the Technical Strategy Associate position altogether. Based on that evidence, SpaceX contends that what the IER is trying to do is the very definition of government outreach, and therefore would not submit to the subpoena request. Things got more complicated in June of 2021 when a federal judge ordered that SpaceX produce a subpoena documentation within 21 days of the issued ruling. As of September 2021, it is unclear whether or not SpaceX complied with the judge's orders. And that's all we can say about this issue as of today. That's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe to DB Business, and until next time.